One at a time, please. We got 2 minutes left.
The other person, the other former Air Force officer, retired Air Force officer involved in it, was charged with photo analysis of this film. Florence Mansman. He's now deceased.
Florence J.
I've spoken
Mansman.
to his widow. I have correspondence, private correspondence between Dr. Jacobs and Dr. Mansman, actually. And 20 years later, they are marveling over what they saw. Mansman's professional assessment at Vandenberg in 1964 was that this was an extraterrestrial craft.
Okay, so he made that conclusion.
That's correct.
Okay, all right.
And I can send you, I will give CNN, I'm trying to get the national media involved in this as much as possible. I will send anyone, any correspondent for any newspaper, any radio station, TV station, any scientist, any member of your group, all of the original documentation where these gentlemen are discussing the subject 20 years later.
We're going to do a lot more on this because we do a lot on UFOs. We thank you all for coming, and we thank Dr. Jacobs. And when we come back, we're going to really get into it. A double debate. We're going to have a physicist, a lecturer, a researcher, and a documentary filmmaker go up against Bill Nye and Dr. Seth Shostak into a 2 versus 2 on this whole subject. Don't go away.
Do you think it's possible that it was from another world?
My Air Force training says I can't think that way, okay?
I know what I saw, and I get very upset, and I was wondering why they won't find out what it was.
Until somebody actually sees it, they have no idea. No idea.
A story this big, there's no way it could be kept secret from the public. What do you say to someone like that says that?
Well, somebody's kept it pretty secret for quite a while, haven't they?
4 distinguished gentlemen will now debate this reasonably. They are here in Los Angeles. Stanton Friedman. He's a physicist, lecturer, and UFO researcher and author of Flying Saucers and Science. James Fox is a documentary filmmaker and UFO researcher, the executive producer of Out of the Blue, and finishing up a new film, the working title Beyond the Blue. Bill Nye, our science guy, remains. And in Boston is Dr. Seth Shostak, the senior astronomer for the SETI Institute. That stands for the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. He's the host of the weekly radio program, Are We Alone? All right, Stanton, it is Bill's contention that, yes, people have sighted things, yes, there are reports, but we don't know there are unidentified flying objects from other planets.
Well, you know, I admire Bill's courage. I can't imagine a well-trained scientist who's expert at communicating science to the general masses of people, who has courage enough to go on a national, international television program to talk about something which he hasn't researched, something which he knows nothing about, and pretend he's being a scientist about it. Frankly, I'm sick and tired of the debunkers making their research be proclamations. I mean, Bill showed a document with, you know, names redacted. How about this is a CIA document, it took me 5 years to get, about UFOs, not just names redacted.
Right. Are you saying, Stanton, as a physicist, that there are unidentified flying objects that have come from other places?
Yes, I'm going beyond that. That's why the book is Flying Saucers and not UFOs. UFOs would be shilly-shally.
They'd be unidentified, yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying some of these...
What are you saying?
Some UFOs are intelligently controlled extraterrestrial spacecraft. We're dealing with a cosmic Watergate, meaning a cover-up by the government. Right. And there are no good arguments against those two. And we're dealing with the biggest story of the millennium.
Before I have Bill respond, let's have Dr. Shostak respond. Doctor, what do you know or not know?
Well, you know, Stanton likes to say those of us who are not doing the UFO research shouldn't opine about them. And I find that not such a convincing argument because, frankly, I don't do black hole research. I'm an astronomer. I don't do black hole research. But I can read a paper about black holes and decide whether it sounds credible or not. Is the guy who did it, is he credible? Was the paper reviewed? Are other scientists convinced? Can I repeat the experiment? There's no reason that Bill Nye nor I can't offer a serious opinion on this subject. So I regret that he said that. Secondly,
you're not offering a serious opinion.
Oh, don't interrupt, son. Okay. All right. Let's bring in James Fox. Do you know that you're not a scientist, but a filmmaker? Do you know that objects have come from other places, not the Earth?
Here's my theory. Okay, we got two possibilities. Two possibilities. The observed phenomenon. By the way, I've got a little document here that was released through FOIA request. It's from the Air Material Command, General Nathan Twining, admitting on the 23rd of September 1947 that the phenomenon is real and not visionary or fictitious.
What do you know?
So basically, there's an observed technology for at least 60 years that one can easily establish. The ability to hover without making sound, without disturbing the air, and accelerate from a standpoint to out of sight in the blink of an eye. So either there's an agency within some government in the world that's in possession of that technology and has kept it under wraps for 60 years, and I can definitively say that.
Government could be ours.
And it's a terrestrial explanation. There's a terrestrial explanation for that technology, or there isn't.
Or the government could be ours, too.
Or the government could be ours. So,
which would explain its
Which would explain that they've kept this technology under wraps for 60 years or more.
Can you unequivocally, Bill, say that there are no objects coming from outer space? Can you say that?
Of course not. There are definitely objects coming from outer space. There's 100,000 tons of
manned alien
of dust that lands put a sheet out every night, you'll find dust.
Aliens.
Well, I'm very skeptical. You know, as we say in science, the simplest explanation is generally the best one. So here's our problem, I think. People are confident that the United States government has covered things up.
Right.
And indeed, if you read recent publications, stuff declassified last year, and I didn't write the book, but if you read something like Legacy of Ashes about the CIA has covered up a lot of things. And a couple times they got their own forces shooting at themselves because one part of the organization didn't tell what the other part of the organization.
What's your point?
My point being that the U.S. government could have accidentally led people to believe that there was a lot more going on than there really was. And so this ability of the U.S. government to create these rumors, generally inadvertently, may I say, has led people to have confidence that when they can't explain something by traditional means, it must be some amazing, never before experienced
let me get a break. We'll come right
phenomenon.
back.
Okay.
Where are these so-called space aliens coming from? What do they want from us? We'll ask after the break. There's still time to participate in our quick vote. Is the United States government hiding knowledge of UFOs? Head to CNN.com/Larry King right now and weigh in. Right now, yes, by the way, is in the lead. Before we continue, let's take a look at a clip from James Fox's new movie. It involves a Japanese airliner. Watch.
Picking up a hit on the radar, approximately 5 miles in shell, your 6 o'clock position. Do you concur?
The CIA said to all the people there, this event never happened. Who are you going to believe? Your lying eyes or the government?
Why is the government covering up, Stanton?
Why? In my book, I have a whole chapter on 6 reasons for it. You want to figure out how they work. You worry about the other guy figuring out how they work before you do, because they make wonderful weapons delivery and defense systems. You don't want them to know, you know, they know kind of thing. If a big announcement were to be made, there would be, what? Church attendance would go up, mental hospital admissions would go up, the stock market would go down, but there'd be a big push for an earthling orientation. No government wants that. And fourth, some of the religious extremists.
Okay. Do you, Dr. Shostak, believe that? Do you think there'd be a panic?
Nope, absolutely not, Larry. Polls have shown since the 1960s that something like 50–60% of Americans believe that we are being visited by saucer sailing aliens that occasionally abduct you for experiments that are inappropriate on a first date, and nobody's rioting in the streets about that. New York Times announced it tomorrow. I think people would say, well, I knew it all along.
Our latest Associated Press poll shows 14% of Americans claim they've seen a UFO, and 34% say they believe in UFOs. Now, James, tell us about, you had eyewitnesses who spoke to in Arizona, right?
I've had...
Who told you they saw... They saw what?
There's a craft. It's a boomerang-shaped craft. It's up to 1 mile across. It flew extremely slowly.
1 mile across?
1 mile across. It flew extremely slowly. People had it fly directly over them. We're not talking about an ambiguous light off in the distance. Directly over their house, so low they think they could have hit it with a rock.
How many people told you they saw it?
there's been over 1,000 people who have come forward. I've talked to at least 150 from all over the state of Arizona. All of them report the same thing. Including the governor of Arizona, who launched an investigation with the Pentagon, local Air Force Base, Luke Air Force Base.
And what happened in the investigation?
They shrugged their shoulders, so we don't know what that thing was.
All right. How do you respond? They're not lying, James. Bill, what do you think?
My recollection of this was the Air Force said they had a flight of F-16s that dropped flares that night. And it's a big V.
But these people are describing
that
was at 10 o'clock, not 8:30.
The real thing happened at 8:30. It started in the north and it headed all the way down.
So one explanation is
people couldn't tell time.
One explanation is that something happened in the evening and we have confused the time. Another explanation is there's an alien spacecraft.
Okay, so are you open to that possibility? As a skeptic,
not in the case of the one in Phoenix, no, because at the time, in this case, no, look, I don't have the documents in front of me to be in all fairness.
You haven't studied the evidence, is what it boils down to, Bill.
That's where I really disagree with you, Stan.
Well, hold on,
I've studied the evidence pretty well. I remember very well.
Let him say something.
Go ahead.
When this craft took off